Hey everybody, it's a bit of an audio video thing for the channel today that's going to be talking about, as the title suggests, the Battletech game from Harebrained Schemes and one of their latest Kickstarter updates. So if you haven't backed it, obviously, you'd have to hunt through the actual Kickstarter page to find these. But this is update 25, and they give a few minor background details about how it's going. Apparently they're at a prototyping stage and everything's starting to come together. But the most impressive and interesting part of it is the player base for the campaign, which is actually a dropship of all things. But not the sort of traditional dropship, it's an entirely new one that they've made for this game, and it's called the Argo class. And it's pretty fucking cool looking. I mean, you've got the artwork here that shows it over a planet, and you can see the little ship on the bottom right there. That's a Leopard class that's detached, and you can see it's a bit hard to see really, but on one of the docking rings on the side you can just see the wings poking up at the top. There's another Leopard class that's attached, so apparently it can carry, I think, 3 Leopard class dropships on the side, and they can detach and allow them to deploy units and troops and stuff. And basically this is a kind of mobile base station slash dropship slash colony ship. It's all kinds of other things. Basically they've tried to give it a kind of technical readout setup, and apparently they used all the rules from the books to make sure that this thing would actually fit within the Battletech universe rule-wise, although they're not actually going to produce stats so you can have it. The history is that there were only 2 of these things built. They were built prior to the fall of the SLDF as a kind of exploratory vessel. There was 2, the Argo and the Myrmidon. The Argo went out on its maiden voyage and mysteriously was never seen again. And the Myrmidon apparently was damaged so badly in a terrorist attack, presumably by Amaris sympathizers or some of his little sneaky gits sneaking around the SLDF bases. So there's only one left, and that's the one that you as a player will discover, and presumably you bring it back online and you retrofit it to be used for your mercenary company. So that's pretty cool. Now the thing is about this, the Argo class, is it doesn't have any weapons. There's a little setup of the have a look at the images myself at the time when I put them up on this video. So you've got the actual cutaway, so you can see all the different sections of the ship. They're all marked. They're kind of hard to, I don't know why they didn't make the image bigger, but it's pretty vast as far as I remember. The ship is 25,000 tons, I think, out of cargo space alone, and it's got habitation rings. It's got its own artificial gravity that it generates. One of the images that they show basically will suggest that when the ship is over a planet, it will fold these 3 huge sections out, which will then slowly rotate, as will the back end of the ship, and that creates the artificial gravity. And when it's moving, they all fall back into position, so it can travel at, I guess, sub-light speed, or maybe when it gets picked up by a jump ship. So that's pretty cool. Basically, the whole thing is just going to be some massive, self-sufficient ship that's going to house all of your equipment, or your techs, your pilots, and all the rest of it. And it's also where you'll be picking up contracts and hiring new mech warriors. So there's an interesting part that I always get this idea that apparently the great houses are like, holy shit, there's this like mercenary company that's turned up with this, like, I guess one of a kind ship. Should we just take it off them? No, let's just do the contract signing on board their huge fucking dropship. That'd be really good for one of our house militaries. But no, I mean, that aside, some of the artwork we've seen before. So I'll be posting up the pictures of it. Like, you've got this one with a Davian officer apparently who's like pointing at a holovid, going, "Shoot those guys," basically, and with the contract thing up on the screen. So apparently, when you're taking a mission, there'll be different artwork to show different representatives of different houses who'll be giving you your contracts, and then the section details what the different parts of the ship will do. So there's the command center, which there should be an image of if I'm timing this right, of the holotable that will allow you to do things, as it says here in bold on the update. So you'll talk to your XO, you'll review and negotiate your contracts, and determine your lance deployment. So pretty straightforward stuff. The bridge, which looks pretty cool. You've got the big map there. I guess this will be of the periphery that you that the story will be set in at the time. I guess in the main story, and then when it becomes like the open-ended campaign afterwards, it might, who knows, it might get bigger. It might allow you to go to other parts of the Inner Sphere, maybe to all the different houses, I don't know. But it says, on the bridge, you'll talk to your navigator and chart interstellar and interplanetary travel. So that's quite cool. So that suggests there's going to be a jump ship that maybe you have to hire, or maybe at certain points within the story, there'll be a jump ship available for you in the system. The next image is one we've seen before, which is the Atlas. That's obviously from MWO, that's going to be inside the cargo bay. And you can just see a griffin there stood next to it, and to the left and right of it, I believe, are both catapults. And yeah, they're all using the MWO models for this. And it says, in the main hold, you'll repair, customize and upgrade your mechs, as well as manage salvage and possibly your support vehicles. Now, the possible support vehicles bit, that was because one of the stretch goals was adding vehicles to the game. But I don't think they were 100% set on allowing you to like roll into the field with like a bunch of Manticore tanks and like a Locust or something. I think it's going to be very specific vehicles, kind of like Mech Commander 1, I want to say, where you could bring a couple of vehicles with you that weren't strictly combat. I think they're going to go with the same route with this. You'll still be shooting enemy tanks, but I don't think you'll get any tanks yourself, which would be a bit of a shame if they do that. The rest of them, unfortunately, don't have any images, but there's the habitation ring, which is, it's just got your pods and all that. And as I said, it spins around, keeps gravity. And it says there you'll manage your mech warriors and other personnel, and browse hiring board for new hires. Your captain's quarter, which is basically you, where you manage your merc company finances, you browse your Comstar news bulletins, and you view records of your career to date. So, you know, you see your stats and all that. It's quite good. And engineering is the last bit. It's where you talk to your chief engineer and choose both functional and cosmetic upgrades for the Argo. I like the idea that there'll be some cosmetic upgrades. I guess plastering your Merc Company logo on the outside of the ship, and maybe being able to change maybe the colour of the ship. I don't know. Be interesting to see what they do. So that was it. That was probably the best of the Kickstarter updates they've done, because they sort of gave us an insight into one of the key parts of the story that they were sort of hinting at when they were running the Kickstarter campaign, but they didn't really sort of show us anything in particular. So the other sweet thing at the end, though, and I'll add a link to this at the bottom in the description, is they have a sort of very rough, very early kind of prototype of what navigation will look like in these different rooms, and it's going to be very similar to, if you ever played MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries, it'll be similar to that, where you click, there'll be like a screen and it highlights when you mouse over it, and you click it and it'll zoom into the screen, and then you can interact with that, and then you can click a door and you'll go through into another room. So it's going to work like that. But it looks pretty cool. And it doesn't need to be Flash, it doesn't need to be 3D, it just needs to be functional, and I think that's what they're going to do with this. So let us know what you think about that in the comments. And obviously give those guys a thumb up, because they're doing some really good work with that so far from what I can tell. And an additional caveat, don't worry about the scaling. I mean, I'll read this verbatim. It says, mech scaling is still a work in progress, and we'll be following Piranha's current rescaling efforts for MechWarrior Online, coordinating with them to ensure that everything we ship in our final game feels correct. So don't worry about the fact that that image showing the Atlas has a griffin that's like the same height. That's all just concept art. So, you know, don't freak out. So, yeah, that's it. So, thanks for listening. You know, what do you think about it? Let us know. And, yeah, any more future updates that have some more, like, meaty components about it, I'll make sure that I'll detail them on here as well if you haven't backed. So you can at least have some idea about what the hell's going on. Okay? Thanks for listening, everyone. Crystal Rocket, signing out.